Hi everyone, welcome back to the Hollywood Actors Guide to Surviving the Film and Television Industry. This is your host, Jennifer Lynn Warren. I found this really cool part in my acting notebook journal where years ago, this is almost 10 years, I wrote down like an audition reminder, not like a checklist, it was more like a little leaflet. And I was actually onto some stuff and some stuff that I had actually forgotten about, and I wanted to share all of that today. So here are some of the stuff that I wrote down, mostly about auditioning. You have to figure out what scene is it. Make sure you hear it. Read it with someone else. Don't just go in cold to those auditions. I used to do that without reading it out loud, thinking I had it memorized, and I'd go in there and I'd hear it aloud for the first time and I'd get thrown. Yeah, that's not a good idea. Find the innuendos and moments when your character is unhappy with what they just said. Now, I don't know if that applies for every script, but what an interesting thought to find a moment when your character says something that they regret, right? Powder face before going into room. I mean, I think this is great for those of us with those oily T-zones, and I forget to do this sometimes, and even on my self-tapes, I'll watch it back after a great take, and I'll be like, oh my gosh, I am so shiny. Wear light colors because dark blends into my hair. That's very true. I mean, sometimes your hair can really inform what kind of colors look best on you in an audition. What do you want from the other person before the end of the scene? And what will I do when I get it? Affect the CD, meaning casting director. Make the reader change the way they are doing it. Ballsy, but true. See if you can change the reader's day. What happened before this scene to make it relevant? Get out of your imagination, get out of your head and into the circumstance. Every scene is a 10. If you play it like a 2, you won't book. Who am I? Make sure you are playing what you want the other person to do. If the audience can't see your struggle, they can't root for you. Don't quote unquote act when you're not talking. Listen instead. Mark which lines you need to be present and in a need and memorize first. I think I had really bad grammar there. So there are times when, back when we could cold read off of scripts, there were those lines that you really wanted to make sure you had memorized. Try to memorize everything first, like all the time. But if you don't have time to memorize something, make sure that you figure out what the most important moments are in that scene and memorize those first. Find the pivotal line in a scene to find the super objective that you play throughout the whole scene. So a super objective is the thing that your character most wants in life. And a lot of times your characters will say it out loud. You just have to find it. Find a line towards the end that, what's the word? Oh, wow, when I can't read my own writing, that's bad. Oh, find the line towards the end that affects what you're playing from the beginning. That way the other actor will react what you are playing from the beginning. Does that make sense? So like once you know what is going to happen at the end of the scene, make sure to find some ways that you can kind of plant those seeds earlier on that'll actually help your scene partner and you create that very tense arc, right? Make your choices based on something that you have personally been through before. This can be very helpful. This is very method-y acting type stuff. You don't always necessarily want to go too deep, but sometimes basing your choices off of something that you have personally been through is absolutely your key in your way into a character. You can't play a stage direction. You can only play what you're being given. Focus on playing the subtext before getting off book. As soon as you start playing the subtext and not the text, you're gold. Connect the first line with the last line. Read the first line of the scene and the last line of the scene and figure out why they are the first and last lines. React to how the other character is behaving, not to what they are saying. Ooh, I like that one. That one's my favorite. React to what the other character is behaving and not to what they are saying. So that is really just getting down into what the subtext of the scene is. What is it that your character's not saying, but they're kind of saying, they want to say, but they're not saying? That is actually what you want to play in a scene and not actually what the scene is saying. That's how you make even bad dialogue come to life. So that's it. I just thought I would share some notes. I found that some of those were great little gold reminders for me. That's why I keep an acting journal. I take it to my class every week that I'm in right now, and I take notes there, and I'm sure a lot of that stuff will probably find its way into a future podcast. We continually thank We Audition for their sponsorship. If you need a reader for your audition, go on to weaudition.com. Use promo code HAG25, HAG25, to get a free reader or find somebody, who they might charge. But it's not a lot, guys. I remember begging my friends to come read for me for an audition and being so stressed out because I feel like I was just putting them out at all times. And now that I don't have to do that, I'm so much more relaxed when I audition and do my self-tapes because I know that actor actually wants to be there. So that's weaudition.com, promo code HAG25. That's it. That's all I have for you this week. Break a leg and remember, you are not alone.